I have been in the insights and research world for about 4 years. And what I wanted to talk about today is what I call create your own career adventure, which is essentially like a little bit of the story of how I ended up in consumer insights from a different area. And I think that we probably all have some of these stories, but I don't know how many of us are of the age of remembering the create your own adventure books that there were in the 70s, 80s, maybe early 90s, where if you remember, you would read a passage in the book that was maybe 3 or 4 pages long, and then you would get to a point in the story where it said, like, say the book was about like a deep sea adventure and you spot a cave while you're in the scuba diving. And like, if you decide that you want to swim into the cave and see what's there, you flip to page 27. But if you want to swim back up to the ship and go to another spot to scuba dive, turn to page 45. So really, there were these books that you could really create a completely different story every time that you read them. And I sort of feel that that's the way it can be with your career, and that in some cases can be stressful, but I think it's kind of helpful for a lot of us, whether we're looking for roles now or just charting a course for what our future looks like, to really think about it as an adventure and think about ways that it can be fun to move through these different choices that you have to make, and think about what makes you happy, what brings you joy, and what actually can, from that, then also bring you, prosperity, titles, and things like that that you want to do. So what I think we typically a lot of times see when it comes to career progression, a lot of us think about, there's this, notion of the corporate ladder. It's that you start maybe as a junior associate or an associate. Your next step has to be into a manager role. The manager then goes to senior manager, director, vice president, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think a lot of us have come through this course of, our career planning, of thinking within an organization that the next move is the next one up. And I just want to be kind of the person to be here to tell you and maybe remind you that that's not always the way that it goes. And if you don't want to make the next step, that's okay. So if I had the slide said, moving up is not always the move, and that's okay. So I think that sometimes you make it to a point in your career. I know in my, I would say mid-career, 5, 10, 15 years into it, I really felt like I could run this place. I could be the boss, I could be the CEO, I could do all the things. And then as my career progressed, I got to a point where I thought, I maybe could, but I don't think I want to. And so I think we often sometimes get to a point in your career where you have what I call the capability and responsibility challenge, where you're really capable to do the next thing. You have the skills, you have the experience, you may even have people within your organization or your business asking you to move into a higher level role, but you may not really want the responsibility that goes with it. You may not want a really high travel, itinerary. You may not want the responsibility of managing a team. You may not want to have to go in front of a board and give them presentations and do a lot of things. There are high rewards the higher you climb up that ladder, but there are a lot of offsets and kind of, trade-offs that you have to make for yourself in terms of what you're willing to do and what you get back out of it. And so I definitely reached this point in my career that I wish someone had said to me, so I'm going to say this to everyone here, like, you have permission to say, I don't want to do that next step. Even though you're qualified, even though it looks good on your resume, that may or may not be the right thing for you. And it's okay if you don't want to do it that way. So then that comes to, all right, well, great. Like let's say I'm a senior manager, I'm a director, I'm a VP, and I don't really want to do the next thing. Well, what else is there to do? Where do I go from here? And I work a lot with, coaching and mentoring people in terms of like friends and family, as well as coworkers and people who've worked on my teams before. And the first thing that I tell people to do is to always make the list of 2 things. One list is what I'm good at, and the other list is what I like to do. And you make the list of things and get to the types of work that you like to do, the environment that you like to work in, the types of companies or products that you're interested in, that you support, that you find bring you joy or bring you value. And when you see those 2 lists, and if you see things that are on each list in both places, the point in the middle where those 2, where the Venn diagram circles overlap, that's your sweet spot. And that's really important to start to learn for yourself as you're going forward in your career. Again, whether you are at a pivot point today, or if you're just thinking about the next 5 to 10 years or where you want to go, to be really clear and be able to articulate to anyone, because opportunity is everywhere, what exactly it is that you want to do in specific terms as possible. So, for example, you could say, for me, this is sort of how I ended up at Insights. When I made those two lists a few years ago, I really enjoy people, but I don't enjoy managing people that much anymore. I really enjoy learning and I really enjoy data. And so, of the things in the past that I worked on with products development and innovation, those sorts of things, these actually were two that might not have been in my path, but were very evident to me that, oh, obviously, consumer research. Like, I actually love and enjoy hearing people's opinions and information and helping determine what they're telling me that helps decide, in the Wayne Gretzky, like where the skate to where this puck is going to be, determine where that goes. And so I kind of pivoted away from product development and innovation, went into a full-time insights role, which then circled back around into an insights-led strategy role, which is where, again, creating your adventure. One of the things that I like to remind people is that just because a role doesn't exist today doesn't mean that it won't ever exist. And so again, if you get more clarity on the types of things that you like to do, what you're good at, what your sweet spot is, and then layer that again also with the type of companies that you like and are interested in, the type of role that you feel rewarded in, and even the work environment that makes you feel most productive, respected. And for example, a lot of us I know are remote workers. I love working remotely. Some people really want to be in the office. If you're someone who travels for concerts, I really like to travel. So like those are the sorts of things that you can start to kind of build up. And what you will see is you will start to be able to identify when those roles are available, whether you're looking or not. You're going to see that opportunity to move into a space where you can do the things that you like the most and even carve out for yourself different roles and new paths simply by being really clear on what you like, what you're good at, and how you articulate that to the community around you. So I'm sure this is probably not uncommon for a lot of us, especially women on the call. Remember the Sheryl Sandberg, it's not a corporate ladder, it's a jungle gym. That is truly the way to think about this, is that you can go sideways, up, down, backwards. And so I think that movement part of it is what's really compelling to me to remind us all to think about as we're planning, charting our story, choosing our adventure from a career standpoint, but also the notion that it can be fun. We do know that I know that there's a lot of things happening in the market research industry, a lot of changes in terms of AI and all these different things that we're all hearing about and seeing all the time. It can be intimidating. It can be stressful. The other side of that coin is it can be fun. It can be really interesting from an opportunity standpoint. And I am a big believer in terms of you can create your own destiny. You can speak things into being. I do recognize that this comes from a bit of a position of, privilege to be able to say and share and think the world this way. But I do think that where you put energy is what grows. And if you put your energy towards the things that you really want to come true, I have seen it happen with my career that you can actually carve out and create the type of role that you want with, if not all, at least most of the things that you want to do every day with the people that you like in a company that you enjoy. So that's kind of the overview, very simple. Sorry about the malfunction with the slides, y'all. I do have some questions, which thankfully I put in the chat because I can't get slides back up.
There was one question from Alice. Is that Alice going to come up break, or do you want me just to read it, Alice?
Oh, hi there. I can ask. Thank you so much. This is great. My question is, what if there are things out there in your adventure, but you haven't been down that path yet? So there might be things that are not in either of those circles. So how do you make room for, I don't yet know what I don't know?
I think that feels like an excellent question from a researcher of that, like, how can you get smarter about that thing, right? So I think that's where it's totally okay to get to a point where if you don't know that you don't know, but also are you pulled to it, drawn to it enough to dig in and find a contact, a person who does that role, an adjacency from maybe it's a business, maybe it's something that, for me, one of the things that kind of comes out in that I've typically made and built and produced and been involved with physical product. Digital product is a little outside my norm, so I don't know if that's an area, but I'm using it as a rough example. There's lots of people, maybe people on this call who work in that arena. Maybe it's a software software or app or type development, I would just encourage you, like, don't be afraid. I've had people blindly reach out to me on LinkedIn and struck up with, friendships actually with people who are just like, I'm just taking a chance and asking you, how do you feel about this thing? I learned this years ago in a sales role that like people legitimately want to help you. And I think actually today, even more so in the realm of, skepticism about what's happening from artificial intelligence, to talk to a real person. I think a lot of people, there's a lot more openness to doing that, even with someone that you might not know. So I would say maybe seek out more information, and then you still may not know, but at least you'll be a little bit more informed in not knowing.
Great. And I think we can move on to our questions for the breakout room. Do you have them available, Pam, or do you want me to say them?
If you don't mind, since actually I can read them off. I can do that. Okay. So this is, I can't project them anymore, but so here's some things to think about for our breakouts. I've got 3 questions that you can think about, discuss, maybe not cover all 3, maybe one of the others. So number 1, what are skill sets that market researchers do well that open up paths to new and different career directions? Second question, what are the things that you are good at and you like to do, and how might they transfer and apply in areas within or outside of market research? And then the third one is just, what jungle gym type moments have you experienced that impacted your career trajectory that you could share with the group?